If you're watching this, you probably tried losing weight before and it just didn't stick. Not because a lack of desire, discipline, or effort, but you probably just didn't know how many calories you needed to reach your goals. So I'm gonna walk you through exactly how I figure that out with each and every client to get that starting point set. I'm Coach Dan. I'm a 3-time Classic Physique overall champion. I've been coaching people for over a decade, and I'm the NCOIC for the Army Fitness Test here in Mesa, Arizona. So let's get started. So we're gonna be starting with a client example here that I see very commonly, and these are the large majority of the type of clients that I work with. So here we have Marcus. He's gonna be 38 years old. He's 5'10", 250 pounds. He works a desk job, goes to the gym about 4 times a week for about an hour, and he's roughly 30% body fat. Now the body fat, you don't need to figure out with a DEXA scan or a bod pod or anything like that. You can find good resources for pictures and visuals of what that looks like for a male versus female. But that's gonna be critically important to get a rough ballpark. The majority of men in this age range are gonna be about 28 to 32% body fat. So we'll just use that 30%. That's gonna be where he's gonna have a little bit of that belly actually visibly hanging over that belt line. So that's gonna be our starting client. Now the first thing we're gonna have to figure out after we have all that information is our lean body mass. So lean body mass, pretty simple. We're gonna take these 250 pounds, multiply it by 0.3 because he's 30% body fat. And that's gonna give us 75 pounds of actual body fat. So we're gonna take the 250 pounds of body weight, subtract the 75 pounds of body fat, and that's gonna give us 175 pounds of actual lean body mass. That's gonna be skeletal muscle tissue, bones, water, all that good stuff there. Next thing we need to do is we need to figure out our BMR. So we could easily just plug this into a lot of websites. They have BMR calculators, TDEE calculators, all that good stuff. But we're gonna use it right here. We're gonna break it down how that number works. So BMR is gonna be our basal metabolic rate. What that means is how many calories we burn doing absolutely nothing all day. Because despite what you may think, we're actually burning calories simply staying alive. And that's gonna be a large majority of those actual calories. About 60 to 70% of your calories burned are gonna be just from your basal metabolic rate. And if you're super sedentary, you're not very active, that number may be even higher. But for the large majority of us, about 60, 70%. So our base number is gonna be 370, because that's what's just critical to keep us alive, keep those vital things working. So we're gonna add that by this multiplier here, 9.8 times 175. 9.8 is how many calories a pound of that lean tissue is actually gonna burn. And we have 175 pounds of that lean body mass, okay? So that's gonna give us 370 plus 1715. That's gonna give us 2,085 calories. So that's what Marcus is burning just from breathing, keeping his heart beating, his brain working, maintaining that sweet body temperature of 98.6. All those just baseline things, if he laid in a bed all day and did nothing, that's how many calories it would take to maintain his weight. Now, Marcus isn't just sitting all day. He's going to the gym, maybe he drives to work, but he's walking from the car to the office, going grocery shopping, maybe he walks to get the mail. All these different things that we do on a day-to-day basis, we're gonna use that information to give us how much we need to multiply for our activity to get what we call our TDEE, our total daily energy expenditure. So a lot of these tools we'll use online for the activity may be very slightly different, but it's gonna be the general rule. So a sedentary person, we'll refer to that as he's not really doing much. He goes to work, he's sitting at work, comes home, he's sitting on the couch, but maybe he's walking downstairs, maybe he's going to the grocery store, just those small things, walking into the office, all those small things. We'll multiply that BMR by 1.2. Now, if you're lightly active, I would consider that 2 to 3 times a week. We would go 1.375. Now, moderately active person, you're going to the gym several times a week. Maybe you go on some walks with your family or the dog or things like that. We would use 1.55 as our multiplier. And maybe we're super active. So we're hitting the gym 4 or 5 times a week. Maybe we work a physically demanding job. You're carrying mail from house to house. You're loading packages. You're on a construction site, actively doing manual labor. All those kinds of things would fall into that active category. The biggest thing I see where people have run this whole thing before, they put their numbers into a calculator online or an app or ChatGPT, whatever, is a lot of people overestimate their actual activity level. So Marcus may come to me and he thinks, I work out 4 times a week, I'm probably moderately active. Now the reality is he sits all day at work, he sits at home, he spends a large majority of his day doing nothing. So the reality is he's a sedentary person who lifts 4 times a week. So we're gonna just move him into that lightly active, not the moderately active like he would have thought. If you really aren't sure, I would say go up one, so less calories, okay? So we're gonna take that multiplier, we're gonna take that BMR 2085, we're gonna multiply it by that light activity. That's gonna give us 2,865 calories. That's his TDEE, his total daily energy expenditure. So what he actually burns on a daily basis with his activity and his lifestyle. There's a few other things that could come into play with that. We have something here, NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So that could be anything like maybe fidgeting a lot, or maybe you're pacing because you get nervous, or maybe you take phone calls and you like to just stand up and walk around a little bit. Whatever that may be, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So it's stuff that we're doing that's burning calories that we don't even think about, okay? So that's something to take into consideration. But for the most part, this is gonna be a good baseline number for us to start with. 2,865. If he ate that every day on a weekly basis, that would maintain his weight. Now, we want to lose weight for him. He doesn't want to be this 250 anymore. So how do we figure out how many calories we need to pull from this, okay? So what we're going to do is right here, I got 1 pound of fat is going to equal 3,500 calories. We have 7 days in a week. So we're going to take those 3,500 calories, divide that by the 7 days in a week, and that's going to give us 500 calories a day. That is a deficit we need to lose 1 pound per week. So now we have to decide how aggressive do we want to be with that deficit, those negative calories, okay? So if we wanted to lose 1 pound a week, it would be 500 calories a day to lose 1 pound a week. Now, if we want to go a little bit more conservative, if you don't have a ton of weight to lose, or maybe you're like Marcus and we're wanting to put some muscle on in the process, that's why we're lifting weights, we'll go a little bit more conservative. So we're gonna go with 250 calories a day deficit. That's gonna have us dropping 1/2 pound a week. That may not sound super glorious, or it's not some huge number, but if you do that, one, it's something that's sustainable, and we can do that for 6 months, a year, with some little breaks in between. But that's much more sustainable. I'd rather have him lose 1/2 pound a week for the next year than lose 2 pounds a week for the next 4 weeks, and then he quits because he can't do it anymore and he rebounds and goes even higher than before. Now, if we're wanting to lose a little bit more rapidly, we could easily go with that 1 pound a week. That'd be 500 calories a day. Now, if we're really wanting to get aggressive and we're wanting to lose like 2 pounds a week, we'd go 1,000 calorie a day deficit. So that would put us in 1865. So it all depends on how aggressive you want to be. Now with that, the more aggressive we are, the more likely we are to lose muscle tissue. So one of the most common things I see with clients is they've tried things in the past. This isn't their first time either trying to lose weight, maybe not even their first time working with a coach. So what they tend to do is we're doing just salads and some chicken and maybe like a protein shake. Now we drop weight initially, we're losing really fast, everything looks good, it sounds good, it's awesome. We go about a few weeks in, we lose the weight we wanted to lose, we go back to eating somewhat normal or a little bit more, and we gain weight, and a lot of times we go even past what we were originally starting at. The problem was we went way too aggressive. Maybe we're in 1,000, 2,000 calorie a day deficit, they're exercising, doing all these things, they're losing weight super fast. The faster we're losing that weight, the more muscle we're prone to lose. So they lost muscle in the process. Yes, they went down in weight, but they lost a lot of that muscle, which was actually burning the calories. That's what's metabolically demanding. All that means is it takes a lot of calories to maintain it. So they lost the muscle. Now they went back to eating somewhat normal, or even less than they used to eat before when they started, and they go past what they started at because their body physically burned less calories because they had actual muscle loss during the process. We repeat this cycle over and over and over, and over the next 10, 20 years, we've gained weight, we've lost muscle, and we have no idea why it doesn't work. So we're gonna go on that more conservative side for Marcus. Now, if you're heavier set, maybe you're 400 or 500 pounds, you got a couple 100 pounds to lose, we could definitely go more aggressive. We could go 2-3 pounds maybe. We can do that for a while. The leaner you get, the less aggressive we can be. All right. Now, if we're wanting to build muscle, all we do is flip this on reverse. So we have that TDEE. We figure out, hey, how much weight do we want to put on? How much of it are we okay with being fat? The more aggressive we go in the muscle gaining or that weight gain, the more proportion of it is going to be fat. So it's going to be the same thing, just in reverse. One caveat to this. So we figured out Marcus's number, 2615 to hit that half a pound a week. The biggest thing with this is it's not going to be the same forever, okay? So there's a lot of things that are going to come into place. Hormones, stress, maybe as we lost weight, that number changed. So a 250 pound Marcus is going to burn less calories than a 230 pound Marcus, typically. Now, if we put on some muscle in the process, maybe we put enough to where that's going to counter it. Maybe we're burning more. But this number and this whole process is going to have to be circled back to throughout your weight loss process. Now, we're going to hit some roadblocks along the way. Again, maybe stress, hormones, sleep, all those things are going to come into play. And if you're someone who you're working the process and you're hitting those roadblocks, that's where a coach can come into play. So feel free to take this whole process. You can plug these numbers into a calculator online or your favorite AI app, I don't know, ChatGPT, Claude, whatever. Figure out your BMR, your TDEE. Now we know how many calories, how aggressive we need to be. Plug those numbers in, get started. Now, if you're hitting those roadblocks, hitting the stumbling, you don't know, maybe we're still finding ourselves super hungry throughout the day. Maybe that weight loss has stopped and we're trying different things. Feel free to give me a message, or you can apply online at elitefitnessevolution.com. Whenever we hit roadblocks, I make those adjustments, teach you why we do what we do in the process, and help you reach your goals. All right, hope that was useful. Enjoy the rest of your day. Get started on your weight loss goals. God bless.